Whenever you're ready.
Hi there, welcome to the Agriculture Open Day. My name is Craig Davidson, and we've got Pascal Bak also on the call. And we're really glad that you're with us today to hear a little bit about what the agriculture program at the Edinburgh campus is all about. And we know that you've got a busy schedule. We know that you don't have to be here. And we also know that you've got lots of choices all around Scotland, and hopefully you'll find that SRUC Edinburgh is an excellent choice for you. And I'm just going to turn it over to Pascal, and Pascal's going to kind of take the reins for the next few minutes, and then I'm going to come back in a few moments and share with you some more information.
Thank you, Craig. So I'm Pascal. I'm a lecturer in agriculture here in Edinburgh. And as you will probably notice because of my accent, I'm French. I joined the SRUC last year. And so this afternoon, the aim of this presentation is to give you quite an overview of our program and what you can expect as a student at the SRUC. But please feel free to ask any questions at any point in the presentation if you have any questions. So before we get started, maybe I would like you to take a moment and think about the reasons why you're interested in joining our program, and more broadly, what are your expectations regarding a post-secondary institution like the SRUC? And hopefully, as we go through the presentation, you will come up with some questions and we will be more than happy to address them. So let's start about telling you a bit more about SRUC. So SRUC is an institution that plays a major role in Scotland as it supports the ag industry in many ways, whether by working with farmers, with vets, and any companies geared toward agriculture. And it is worth noting that the SRUC is the largest institution of its kind in Europe. And what makes it even more unique is that our institution combines research, education, and consultancy in the same place. And of course, this is a huge asset as it allows us to build strong connection with professionals in agriculture here in the UK, but also with other institutions worldwide. As you can see on the slide, we have 6 main campuses all across Scotland. We have 25 consultancy offices all over Scotland and the islands as well. And our consultants have a wide range of expertise, which makes them on the front line to support and advise farmers. And besides, we have 8 vet disease surveillance centers, which obviously provide support to farmers and everything like that. We have some leading experts that provides clients from the vet disease surveillance centers in areas of animal disease diagnosis and surveillance. And it's not on this slide, but we recently opened our School of Veterinary Medicine near Inverness, and we welcomed our first vet students in October last year. This is a great achievement, and we are proud to be the 3rd veterinary school in Scotland and the first to open in over 150 years. And then, as you can see on the slide, we also have several farms, which are both used for research and educational purposes, with a great variety of species such as beef, dairy cattle, sheep, pig, and poultry. Okay, moving on to the next slide. So just to emphasize our international influence, you can see on this map all the different countries with which we had collaborations during the last 5 years. And you can see that we work with other institutions well beyond the European frontiers and on a wide range of topics such as nutrition, genetics, or animal health and welfare. So here is our agriculture program team led by Professor Joanne Connington, our department head. So Jo is a highly skilled geneticist, and she has traveled all over the world to present her research, and she oversees our entire program. Then we have Craig as our team leader, and we have three lecturers, Mac, Imogen, and myself. And we also have Rowan, our instructor, who leads practical sessions on our farm at Easter Auget. So sorry about this. So why is it worth considering a post-secondary education? If we look at recent surveys, we can see that many students are eager to continue their education and gain qualifications. And of course, having higher qualifications often leads to better job opportunities and higher salaries. And I will expand on this later on, but we offer our students a unique experience to develop their skills to meet the needs of the ag industry. And we achieve this goal by focusing on practical hands-on learning. And we believe that the best way to learn agriculture is by doing. So our students are not just sitting in lecture rooms, they are out on our farms. We work with livestock, we teach them about crop management, and we also take them throughout different farms throughout Scotland. And all those experiences have the students be more prepared for the challenges of and opportunities of modern agriculture, and they are able to develop a wide range of skills that make them highly employable by the end. So, as you can see on this slide, the ag industry has a lot to offer. Around 67,000 people are employed in the ag sector in Scotland, and there's always a need for additional workers. And beside that, the Scottish government also promotes careers in agriculture sectors and encourage diversity and change, for example, by helping new entrants to farming or supporting women in agriculture. And we are also very lucky to have several organizations providing funds to support people who are interested in working in the ag industry. The ag industry also offers job security, as there will always be a need to produce food, especially with the growing global population and increasing life expectancy. But at the same time, we all know that agriculture is evolving and will face numerous challenges in the future, such as climate change and food security. And so we address these issues in our program and have our students think about the future of agriculture. And as agriculture is constantly evolving, we want to make sure that our curriculum reflects that. And so we are kind of committed to stay at the forefront of agricultural innovation, and we make sure that we equip our students with the latest knowledge and skills in areas like precision farming, sustainable agriculture, and the use of cutting-edge technology. And of course, we want our graduates to be leaders in the industry and to make a significant impact and change in the future farming. One thing that I didn't tell you is that you don't have to be from a farming background to join our program. Each year, we have more and more students who are not familiar with agriculture who start studying at the SRUC, and our curriculum is designed in such a way that it allows everyone to gain knowledge and skills and to get a strong baseline to build upon as they move forward to their degree. So here are some examples of the different types of careers you can have in agriculture. Studying at the SRUC doesn't mean that by the end you will work on a farm for the rest of your life. As you can see here, the range of jobs is very wide and you have many opportunities. Some of our students will work on farms, obviously, but the most motivated ones can acquire specific skills throughout the program and also during their work experience. And by the end, some of them can work as feed nutritionists or scientists, or we also have some students ended up being lawyers. And as they move towards their degree, our students can also tailor their curriculum by choosing some electives, and this is the key for them to embrace a career they have chosen. So, as you've probably already understood, the aim of our program is to provide the ag industry with fully skilled workers. And to achieve this, we help our students gain knowledge and professional skills throughout the program. Once again, as a student at the SRUC, you can expect having more than just lectures. We bring experts into the classroom to deliver specific topics, and the students develop their professional skills working on the farm with our instructor. We take them regularly on field trips and farm visits. And last, they also have work placement to experience agriculture, I would say, from the inside. So just a slide to tell you that we have students from almost all over the world. Of course, most of our students come from Scotland and the UK, but we are sometimes lucky to have also students from other countries such as China or the US. So maybe a few words about Edinburgh. As a French guy, I would say it's pretty easy for me to see all the assets of this vibrant city. Edinburgh is a student-friendly city with a rich cultural heritage and a stunning architecture. There are numerous places to explore, whether it is the historical part of the city, the museums, the parks, or of course the pubs. So as a student, Edinburgh is definitely a great place to socialize and make friends from all around the world. And it's also a great place to study, especially here at the SRUC. As an educational team, we foster a supportive and collaborative learning environment. We are a dedicated team of experienced lecturers who are passionate about agriculture, and we are, of course, committed to helping our students succeed. We are lucky enough to have small class sizes. So to give you an idea, we generally have between 20 to 30 students in the first year. And this allows us to have more personalized attention and mentorship with our student. And we also encourage teamwork and peer learning, creating a strong sense of community amongst our students. As I already mentioned to you, we work hand by hand with our researchers, with consultants and the industry. And Craig will tell you a bit more about the Bush Estate and Roslin Institute in a few minutes. So, what should you expect as a student at the SRUC? So each cohort of students has a peer tutor who's here to provide them with guidance and support during the year. Tutors have regular one-to-one check-in sessions, so we have at least one session during each term. And during these sessions, the students are able to talk with their tutors, and we check that they are on track with their assessments and things like that. And of course, we discuss any concerns or challenges they might be facing. So once again, it's not just about what happens in the classroom or on the farm. SRUC has strong links with industry, providing our students with invaluable opportunities for placements, internships, and of course, networking. And these connections often lead to graduate employment, giving our students a real head start in their careers. We also have an active student association. So if you are interested in joining other students from other programs for different kinds of activities or clubs, it's definitely something you can have here at the SRUC. And you can also join Edinburgh University clubs, especially for sports. So our program is designed in such a way that depending on their capacities and their motivation, I would say, students can leave the program at different times. So, for example, if they leave after 1 year, they will get a HNC. And to be honest, most of the students who leave with a HNC are offered employees as farm workers. Then if you leave after the second year, you will have a HND, and after the third year, a general degree. And if you go through the 4 years, you will be awarded with an honors degree. Of course, even though you can leave the program after 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, I would say that we encourage our students to stay the 4 years to get their honors degree, as it's clearly an asset on the job market. And as the students go up to the degree, they move from more of a college setup to an academic one. And so, of course, we have more higher expectations. Just a quick note, and it's not on the slide, but we've been given the third degree awarding power earlier this year. And this means that in the future, we won't depend anymore on University Glasgow regarding our degree. So our program went through some changes those last years to meet the next gen requirements. So here is the initial curriculum, and as you can see, there was a lot of modules, 16 in total. And as you can imagine, there were as many assessments. So it was a huge workload for the students with multiple assessments due throughout the year. And you can imagine the stress that it was for them. So if we look at the new revalidated curriculum, as you can see here, there are less modules, only 6. The idea of this new curriculum was to have more blended modules, which would allow the students to have a more holistic approach to agriculture and also to develop their critical thinking skills. So we also incorporated field trip-based modules such as the diversified enterprises in rural businesses, during which the students visit farms with very diverse productions such as deers, alpacas, or dairy goats. The other major change is that, of course, the number of assessments was drastically reduced with more evidence-based assessments. So, for example, for the professional practice and skills module I teach, students built a portfolio in which they demonstrate their agricultural skills along with their academic and digital skills. So basically for this module, they won't have exams or tests. They will just need to submit some evidence of their skills. But obviously for other modules, the students still have some tests and things like that. And the last change for this curriculum is that we also incorporated some meta skills. In other words, we try to have the students think about all kinds of skills that are transferable and that they can use in their daily lives. So for example, communicating or being able to lead a team, things like that. So here you have the repartitions of the credits for the HNC. So the 2 main modules, I would say, are the principles of crop production and the principles of livestock productions. Then you have another module, the professional practice and skills, and within this module you have the work placement. And then you have 3 additional modules about specialized farming systems, renewable energy and diversification on farm, and also ag machinery module. So The same changes were applied to the second year. So you can see here, we have also 6 modules, and the assessments are mainly evidence-based. So I won't expand on this because I don't think it's very useful. Just to give you an idea of what looks like your timetable as a first-year student here at the SRUC. During the first term, you usually have 2.5 days of in-class teaching, and you have 1 day of practicals. So practicals are in small groups with our instructor, and they take place at our farm at Easter Howgate. And Craig will tell you more about this in a few minutes. And so having small groups during practicals allow each student to practice their skills. For example, they are clipping calves, vaccinating ewes. They also planted some hedges this year. And as you can see on the timetable, during the first term, they don't have class on Friday. It doesn't mean that students do nothing, but this time is dedicated to directed study. So we expect our students to work during this free time on their assessment and coursework. So for the second term, you still have 2.5 days of in-class teaching and 1 day of practicals, but you can also start your work placement. So the work placement is part of the professional practice and skill modules, and each student must complete at least 120 hours over a minimum of 20 days. And you are given the choice to do your work placement in one block. So it can be done around Easter, as you have 4 weeks during which you don't have class, or you can choose to spread it over several weeks, for example, by having your work placement every Friday, especially during the first term or the last term of the year. And as you can see here, the last term, yes, is very light on in class, but students are expected to work on their assessment on coursework, because usually the workload is significantly higher during the last term. So while we offer a blended learning experience with field trips and practicals, it's very important to keep in mind that you need to give enough time and effort to meet our academic standards. You are expected to work consistently on your coursework, of course, to participate in class activities, and also to meet assessment deadlines. As I mentioned, we are committed to helping our students be successful, but we also maintain high expectations for their academic performance. So I added a few slides. Here you have kind of a summary. I just told you about the timetable regarding the first term, the second term, and here the third term. So I think it's all I have for the presentation of the program. So maybe I will leave the floor to Craig for now. You're muted, Craig.
There we go. Thank you, Pascal. Just to kind of recap a little bit about what Pascal has shared with us already. Essentially, we are looking at 5 modules that you'll take throughout the first year, and then those 5 modules being taken all year long instead of having a plethora of lots of different 10-week courses, which we used to have. And so your assessments are very hands-on, very practical based, and we hope that by the time you're finished with all of your course in the first year, you will have the skills necessary to be able to go on and do an entry-level position on a farm, for example. But we do have more students that then progress into the HND, onto the degree, and then the honours degree at the end. So you have flexibility to kind of cater your qualifications to what it is you want to do when you leave. Now, as the further up the chain you go, you're going to find yourself obviously with a deeper academic knowledge. So we're not going to get everything taught in the first year. The things that do get taught will be built upon within the second year. So we're going to start to look at more management decisions that are being made in year 2, and then year 3 and year 4. Now we're looking at ag policy. We're looking at more of the professional careers within agriculture. And then that also leads to my next point, and that most of the students that do not come from a farming background would typically stay with us for 3 or 4 years. They would be the ones that would be going into many of these other professional careers in agriculture that maybe they wouldn't be able to do because they don't have a farm to go back to. So if you go back and you see that slide with lots of different careers, there really are many careers within agriculture that we'll see students go into. And those are very likely the ones that don't necessarily have a farm to go back home to by the time they're finished. So that's just something to think about if there's anyone out there that aren't from farming backgrounds. And we are heavy on non-farming backgrounds within our course as well as farming backgrounds. So I do want to stress that there is plenty of career opportunities for those that aren't from farms. And we need people from both ends of the aisle, from farmers to non-farmers, to enter the workforce. So I'll leave it at that. I just kind of wanted to really make sure that that was clear to everyone moving forward. So what I want to do now is just take a few minutes to show you some of the facilities that we've got to work with here. This is the Bush Estate, and the Bush Estate is about 10 minutes outside of Edinburgh. And if you look where the cursor is showing there, that's essentially the road that comes out of the city, not too far from where our main campus is. And then the hills on the left essentially are our college farm. So we go all the way from that hill on the right, and we keep following all the way kind of towards us, and then you'll see the Easter Howgate farm there just above that cursor. That's where we've got our beef research centre. Above that is our sheep farm, or one of our sheep units, as well as our pig unit there, and I'll show you pictures of that in a few minutes. Now, you will be out there at least once a week within the first year of the course, and then you'll also be using the rest of the Bush Estate, which is just to the south of where the farms are. So we see all of these little flags. We've got our research centres there in terms of genetics and nutrition. We've got our consultants over there. We've also got the Technopole, the Vet Surveillance Centre out there as well. And we've got our brand new state-of-the-art poultry facility. It's the largest poultry research centre in Europe, and it's been open for about 5 years. And we've got a partnership with Aviagen, where we do a lot of our trials out there at the Bush Estate. So you'll be very versed with this Bush Estate. It's also where the Dick Vet School is. The Dick Vet is not part of SRUC, but we do have some partnerships with them where we will use some of their facilities, and then they come and use some of our facilities as well. So it is kind of a nice way of being able to get students from both institutions to use the resources that we may or may not have. So anyway, that's about the Bush Estate. Here we've got the Langhill Dairy Farm, and this goes back to my point on sharing resources. And this is the Edinburgh University's dairy unit out by Roslin, the village of Roslin. Again, just a few minutes outside Edinburgh. Everyone's going to have to do a couple different milking sessions within the first year, so you'll become very familiar with this milking unit, Langhill Dairy Farm. Now, if we go to this unit here, this is our Beef Research Centre, and this is located, again, just where I showed you there on the hillside. And you'll be out here most weeks, either working with the beef or working with the sheep. So this is a nice big unit that was designed using Temple Grandin's research, and you'll learn all about who Temple Grandin is once you start learning about handling systems within our program. Our next photo here, this is just an example of what you might be doing within your classes. Now, this is obviously not a practical because they're not doing anything other than listening. So this would have been or this is an example of bringing out some of your lessons to the farm to then put into or to bring relevancy to what it was you were learning in the classroom. Now, the next photo here is the pig unit, and this pig unit is primarily for research. So you will go out here, not very often, to be fair. You will probably be visiting pig units elsewhere, like the unit we've got at Oatridge. You'll be out there doing some work, and then we try and get out to commercial farms. But this is specifically designed for research trials within SRUC. It's a commercial research for the most part as well. We do things with the government as well, but that makes things slightly difficult for getting students out to do work at this unit. But you will get out there at least once, and we'll get you out to Oatridge to do some work within the pig unit there. And that's just an example of how different campuses share resources as well. So there'll be times where you'll actually meet with students from other campuses. There'll be times where they'll come to us, or you might go to them, and we'll just do a variety of different lessons. It could be practicals, or it could be using the resources from the expertise of folk like the consultants and researchers. The next photo here is just inside the poultry research centre, and this was a feed trial that was taking place, and all of these different colour of bags represented different types of feed. I won't bore you with the details, but this is just an example of the inside of one of the sheds at the poultry unit. This is part of the sheep unit above Easter Howgate. So this is above the beef unit, and again, all part of that bush estate. And here you'll do a lot of work with the blackies primarily, and it will start all the way from September, and you'll do work all the way through lambing time. So students that don't have much experience with lambing will also get that chance to get their hands dirty during one of the 3 lambing seasons that we have. Students will also go out and grow their own crops. So we will have students designing their own trial plots. They'll be conducting an analysis of their trials in terms of the yield. They're going to have to determine the crop varieties. They're going to have to determine their seed rates, all the inputs that are required. And then you'll kind of have a competition with the rest of your class to see who at the end of the day has produced the best quality product and the highest yielding product as well. And so that will come later on in the years once you kind of learn the science behind and being able to make decisions for growing your crops. This is just an aerial view of the Bush campus from the Dick Vet, and right here is the Roslin Institute, and the Roslin Institute is really the mecca, it's the mecca in Europe for genetics. And so anything that has been researched with livestock genetics has probably come out of this facility, and this is where we have most of our researchers currently are out here at the RIB or Roslin Institute building. Now, moving forward, we are going to see a lot more of these researchers coming into the main campus, which we hope that you'll be a student in, and so you'll start to rub shoulders with even more of these researchers later on down the line. The next picture here is a group photo of our students a couple of years ago. We went up to the sheep research centre up near Crean Larich, which is up near Glencoe, and we spent a day out there doing different practicals and looking at some of the environmental initiatives that's taking place up there as well. And you can see quite clearly there that it's just a stunning location. So if for those of you who haven't had a chance to travel around Scotland much, you will certainly be traveling quite a bit within our program. So this is always an exciting day out, and in some cases, sometimes we'll do an overnighter, but we haven't done that for a while. So that's just a little idea on some of the facilities that we've got. I could talk on an hour with a lot more of the facilities that we've got. We could talk about the vertical farm that's just been installed for £3 million at the King's Buildings. We could talk about the new vet surveillance lab that we've got up in Inverness that we hope to get you into as well. We could talk about the labs on campus that you'll use to do semen analysis. But we'll save some of those things for hopefully you come into the building at some point and we'll give you a tour. But we also do a lot of other things like field trips and also social events where we give students a chance to get to know each other in the class. I should say outside of the class. And this is just an example of one of the kind of Freshers Week activities that we did, where we took students out for a morning to go ape over in Peebles. Now on this picture, you'll notice that there's very few girls in this picture. And for those girls that might be on the call, that for some reason they didn't want to show up to go ape that day. But that particular year, we probably had about 50%. Maybe not as high as that, maybe a 40%, I would guess, females within that cohort. Last year, we probably had more than 50% females, less than 50% males. So it kind of shifts each year in terms of the male and female percentages. But we definitely, this is not an all boys group, okay? So farming has changed. It's not all males anymore, and there's definitely the same opportunities, and we really encourage both females and non-farmers to come into farming. So we'll leave it at that. If we want to go to the next slide here, we've got a bowling social we did. Again, just another opportunity to get to know each other. The next photo here, we've got a goat visit where we try and encourage students to think outside the box a bit, because when people come and farm in Scotland, they tend to go down with their blinders on and they do what's always been done, and that would be sheep or beef and dairy. But we don't see a whole lot of people getting into the other species. And so we have a module you'll take called Specialist Farming Systems, which is looking at farming systems that specialize in other particular enterprises. And so this is a meat goat farm. Students from time to time will be recognized nationally for their accomplishments. And I love to brag about this young lady, Naomi. And Naomi was not from a farm, and Naomi was severely dyslexic, where she really had a difficult time remembering what she was learning. She had to really go the extra mile, I'd say go the extra 5 miles, to make sure that she was submitting work that was of the required quality. And she went above and beyond to get involved with additional activities. If opportunities came for different seminars or conferences, or it might have been an on-farm event that the consultants were putting on, she was always learning. And as a result of her efforts, as a result of her accomplishments, she was awarded as the outstanding agriculture student in the entire UK. And Naomi will always go down in history as an SRUC standout because of these accomplishments. The year before that, we also had another individual who won the same award, and both of these students had summer internships with the SEC Consulting as well. And so it's really interesting to see that the SEC Consulting opportunities that you'll be given as well, if you decide that you want to do that over a summer period, will definitely help you in whatever field that you want to go into. And in this case, it was a standout for them during the application process. So kudos to Naomi, kudos to Rona the year before that. And hopefully some of you on the call will be recognized in the future for those outstanding achievements as well. And then we've got these other photos coming up. This one here was a student group we took to Arkansas last year, where they got a chance to go away for a month and learn about agriculture in America. The next photo here is students that wanted to learn a little bit more about lambing. So we didn't require people to come and do a lambing placement. I'm sorry, we didn't require them to come and do practical on lambing. But these students had never lambed before, and they wanted to come out and get that experience. More awards. You'll notice that this is the same young lady that's in the photo, Naomi. We've also got a young man from Oak Ridge that was getting an award that day. That particular night, we probably had about 15 SRUC students at this particular awards evening being recognised within different categories. Again, as I said earlier, you'll go out to pig farms and we'll work with pigs. At this particular practical, I think they were clipping teeth, perhaps, I don't recall. But this was certainly a first for quite a few of the students to be around pigs. And then you'll do your practical skills each week, and each week we'll be building upon skills you've perhaps already learned. We've got a young lady here that's putting a raddle on a tup, getting ready for the breeding season. And then we've got some injections, learn how to do that. And I think on that particular day, they were scanning as well. So that's the vet on the right that was scanning to see if they were in calf or not. And then down on the bottom right there, we've got looking at the EID system, and how we might be able to use data to make decisions. So how do we record the data that we're using, and then how do we use that data in the future as well? The one on the bottom left is a group of students learn how to do risk assessments, because we do take health and safety very, very seriously. In fact, to the point that if you are not involved with health and safety, then you're really not that cool. So we want people to be cool. We want people to think very highly about being safe on farm and think about things that might go wrong. And that was a particular activity we were doing there. And then we'll do other things that are maybe not so farmy, where we start to look at quality criteria, and we do some visits. This was to a flour mill, and we were looking at how Angus was specking out the wheat, and what type of varieties were good, and what type of practices were necessary to get that milling wheat to the product that he's looking for to go and market that on the shelf and put that on the shelves. So that was really interesting. And then we were looking at similar, what do farmers need to do or producers need to do in order to produce high quality eggs? We went into the lab over there at the poultry facility, where we were able to then analyze the eggs and then look at the different weaknesses and strengths of each of those products as well, and then link everything back to the producer. What can the producer be doing on farm to make sure that we're producing a quality product that the consumers are going to want? So that's really the idea behind these sessions here. We'll teach you how to drive tractors, and some people may already know how to drive tractors, and that's fine. You can just show us that you know how to do that, and then others you'll need to start from scratch on obviously operating the machines. I kind of mentioned this already, utilizing technology, agriculture. Some people in agriculture are a bit slower to adopt technology, but it is here and it's here to stay. And technology is there to help us be more efficient and to make decisions that will impact us, hopefully impact our wallet positively. And so this is just another example of how we use technology in terms of the EID reader. But what you don't really see, it's not very clear, is this is a little conveyor belt that these sheep are using to move them along. Instead of using a typical race, we're using a race and a conveyor belt, which is, you'll get to use these sort of technologies as well. Okay. We'll do some things with mechanized agriculture. So this is a visit out in East Lothian. This guy had I think his name is Graham or Hamish, and he had a autonomous weeder and seeder. And then we also have, we visit this carrot farm down on the bottom again in East Lothian as well. So you'll get a variety of different things to see and do. We'll just skip over this one. We've kind of mentioned this. We have a number of different simulators that you'll use before going out on farm as well. The one on the left is a simulator that we use at the Dick Vet School with the Edinburgh University. So this is just another example of using their facilities while they use ours as well. Visit abattoirs. We visit feed companies. Again, trying to bring in some more of these professional careers within agriculture. For those that maybe don't want to go back to the farm or go into farming, there's many different career opportunities, and ABP being a company that's always looking for students. They're always looking for the next trainees to get them developed and brought into the company. Similarly, we've got feed companies that do that. They reach out to us all the time as well, and hope that they can grab onto the talent that we're producing as well. There'll be a number of farm visits that we'll do, all the way from your typical conventional farming to your regen farming. And farming is not the same today as it was 20 years ago. And so we're trying to encourage people to think sustainability all the time. And we will always pick some really good farms to go and visit, and hopefully give you guys something really good to think about and take into your careers later on. At the end of the day, we want you to leave SRUC being successful, right? So giving you as many opportunities as we can give you, whether it's for 1 year or 4 years, we want you to leave being comfortable with what you've learned, right? So you're going to be paying to come to us. You're going to be paying for your housing, potentially for your food. There's definitely a cost to your time, and we want you to be comfortable knowing that the investment that you're making is worth it. But also, we want to know that you are going to be sustaining the industry, because at the end of the day, agriculture is the most important industry in the world, right? We're producing a food, we're producing a life source for people. So we need to strengthen the industry. We need people who are going to be leaders in the industry. We need people who are going to be influencers in the industry. But we need people who are going to be producing a product that is safe and of high quality, so that the public can continue to have trust in what it is that we do each and every day. So we need to sustain the industry. We need to get you guys into the industry and continue to produce those products. So hopefully we'll do our job. And what I want to do right now is I'm going to just kind of finish off with showing you one last thing, and I'm going to share my screen with you. And what, if you haven't had a chance to get onto the SRUC student experience, I'm hoping you can see my screen right now. Pascal, can you just confirm that you can see my screen?
It's showing perfectly.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is the student experience, or the virtual experience page, and I would really like to kind of get you to this page at some point. We've got a few videos on here that will highlight what the students are doing. We've got a number of different student profiles, and this is a student that just graduated. She was a student that was really involved with what she was doing at home with breeding cattle. She was also an award recipient. She was also a student that went to Arkansas. She's kind of done a little bit of everything within our course that there is to offer. And I can't say that about everyone, because not everybody takes those opportunities, but Jennifer was certainly one of those students that did that. We have a student that was playing professional rugby for the country, and this is Emma. And so this is a nice little profile on Emma and how she enjoyed the program and what she got herself involved with, while at the same time being able to support her passion playing rugby for Scotland. So that's kind of a nice read there. We've got a number of other student profiles who are involved with different parts of the agriculture industry. So definitely take some time to go through these. And then I also want to highlight, so there's some pictures of the Arkansas trip there. We have students that are involved with learning about ag policy and how policy is developed and how we communicate that policy to the public. And so that was a class that students took, and there's a little video on that. But these are the sort of classes you would take later on. And then we've got some ideas on your work placements. So you will have to do a work placement, and this is some highlights on some of the things that the students got on with within their placements. So I'm going to finish it there, and I'm going to just again thank you very much for taking the time. I know that there's been 1 hour of talking here and very little of this dialogue between us. So what I want to do now is just open up the conversation and ask you to kind of fire some questions at us. And Pascal had asked you at the beginning of the session what it was you wanted to get out of this session today. What do you want to go home with as the take home? And hopefully we've been able to answer the questions, or at least help you in making a decision one way or the other. So we'll leave it at the questions now. Jack, what questions do we have?
Yeah, I'll fire in. I've actually got one that was emailed to us just before the session, and that is, can I find it here? Does the course differ from campus to campus? So if you're applying for the BSc in Edinburgh or say Aberdeen, does the structure change particularly?
The structure will not change. The classes will be the same. So there will be some timetabling changes because timetables are all dependent on staffing. It's dependent on other classes that are being offered on campus in terms of who's delivering in and out of those modules. So timetables will change, but primarily they're all designed to be, for the most part, exactly the same. So the same classes will be offered at all the campuses. There might be different slants. So if we're down in the southwest, they might be a bit more focused on dairy, as opposed to here in Edinburgh, where we might be focused more on the science aspects of the livestock. So that's just kind of an example. You know, every institution is going to have strengths and weaknesses within their staff, and that staff is really good what's going to dictate the emphasis within those programs. But the curriculum will be the same.
Excellent. And we've also got, do I need a science to study this?
It depends on what you come in at. Jack, you'll be the best person to be able to answer this question, I think. But if you're coming in as a degree registered, you will need to have, well, I think on paper you need to have science for all qualifications. But in terms of the grades, Jack, you'll need to probably support that answer here.
Yeah, so my understanding is that it's not essential, but it's recommended, is kind of the line, and obviously experience and stuff plays a big factor. But I would say certainly if you're in sort of fourth year, fifth year, and you're looking at your options ahead, if you can take a science at least up to a Nat 5, that would go a long way to helping you. And what else do we have? There was mention of the student that overcame dyslexia to win an award. What is the student support like in Edinburgh?
Excellent, excellent. Most of the students that require student support, well, I shouldn't say most of them. Many of the students who require student support don't use the student support because they just feel like they want to try and get on without it. But I do recommend to students that if you were getting student support at your previous schools, to sign up for it anyway, because you might never know, or you won't necessarily know until the very last minute that you need it. So get yourself registered in the system to receive that support. But the student feedback is always that the student support team is always very helpful, so obviously supportive. And we have a number of different mechanisms in place for student support, whether it's student support for academics, and that could go from helping to learn how to write to giving somebody extra time because they need extra time or an extra a room for them to take a test on their own instead of being in a room with everyone else. So we've got academic support, we've got other support like personal issues. So it might be that you need some extra financial assistance, or it might be that you are having some mental health issues that we can then support you with as well. It might be that you're really struggling to be in the big city because you've just come from a rural area. Now you're living on your own in a big city. We've got support mechanisms in place there as well. So really, we've got student support all across the gamut. It's not just academic support, but that is one of the benefits to having a small college, or you know, I say it's a small. We're a large institution, but it's a small campus, so your classes will be small. And that allows that one-to-one attention that many students need for that support. So I hope I've answered that question.
For sure. And another one that's come in is, thank you for the presentation. I'm 35 with a family and I'm leaving the army. Are there any concessions, flexibility options that are family friendly?
Now, that's a great question. I wish I could say we have a fully online course, which we don't. Maybe sometime in the future we will. The only thing that I would say is there might be elements where we could be a little bit flexible in terms of the learning outcomes if you can qualify those learning outcomes being attained elsewhere. But if you're brand new to the industry, you probably won't be able to do that. We could look and we could talk offline about the possibility of part-time, maybe just doing an infill class here and there. So you might do one class a year, another class, or another couple classes another year. So we can be a bit flexible that way. But it's not designed, because of the hands-on nature, to be a remote sort of course. So there would definitely be some trials and tribulations for those that they can't be coming in on a regular basis. But we can certainly talk offline and see what we can come up with to try and make it friendly for you.
I'd also say to that, the person that asked that question, they've submitted it as anonymous, but if they'll have my email address from the post or pre-event comms, drop me an email. I can pass you on to Craig, and you guys can speak about this further.
Good.
What else do we have here? The vertical farm. You mentioned that before. Do you do a lot of work with that? And what kind of stuff is it that you would do with the vertical farm?
So the vertical farm is brand new. We've only had it open for about a month. And so the crops team will end up getting students in there to participate with some of the research of the crop trials that are going to be taking place. So because it is brand new, there's nothing that I could tell you specifically what we're going to be using it for. And I don't want to overspeak or speak on behalf of the crops team that are delivering that module. But plans are being put in place to get students in there. Because it is higher level, the reality is you probably won't be doing a whole lot in terms of the hands-on stuff until further up in the academics, where students will then start doing research. So for the first year, the HNC, it will probably be as much as going in there and looking and seeing what it's all about versus actually doing the trials. That will come later on in the academic journey.
Excellent. And we have, I'm looking to take over my family's dairy farm one day. Am I better to take agriculture or rural business management?
Well, that's going to depend on your experience. I would say if you've been working on the dairy, well, I don't even want to say. You do need to have a business sense if you're going to be running a business. It really just depends on to what extent that you want to have that business knowledge, right? So I'm not in a position to tell you what would be best because I don't know your particular situation. If you need if you need further knowledge on livestock husbandry, obviously we would be a good choice. If you need decisions on how to actually run the business and look at accounts and make decisions on the accounts and look at laws and regulations of businesses, then the rural business might be the better fit for you. It's hard for me to say again without knowing, so we can have a further conversation offline if you'd like to do that.
Yeah, as before, just drop me an email and we can put you in touch. We also ran an online event like this for the business management course the other day, so I can always have a recording of that sent out for you. We've got one more question here, and if there are any more, please do pop them in the chat in the next couple of minutes. And that is this course internationally recognized?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Well, that looks like that is the last of the questions. Nothing else trickling in.
I say yes, because that is the answer. It's yes. And we do have a number of internationals in the course. If you are calling from an international, if you're asking because you're an international student right now, we'd certainly like to have that discussion further in terms of your experience on the particular country that you're coming from, because agriculture is not always the same. I know I would be keen to understand to what extent British agriculture is going to fit into the agriculture that you might be coming from. And so there will be some differences there between countries, laws and regulations, but obviously just the products that are being produced. So that, although yes, we are recognized internationally, you need to decide whether or not that international experience is what it is that what you need by coming to us, if that makes sense. So I hope it does. But we do have a number of markets that we do get a lot more international students from. If you are planning to move with the degree, yes, 100%. Degrees in the UK are very much recognised all around the world. There is a difference between the third-year bachelor's and the fourth-year honours. So if you plan to go somewhere else with your bachelor's, you're going to need to have your fourth year, because most countries won't recognise the third-year standard bachelor's the same as their bachelor's unless you complete it at the fourth year. And that's most countries, but not all countries. Okay, so it's going to change by country, but in terms of recognition, yes, we will be recognised as a qualification anywhere you go.
That is fantastic. Well, that appears to be all the questions that we have. So thanks to everyone for attending today. If you have any questions, you've got my email address, so please get in touch. Craig, Pascal, thank you so much for your time, and have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.